Have you ever inherited something that once belonged to someone you loved? Maybe it was jewelry, maybe it was furniture, maybe it was something small and seemingly insignificant. At first, these objects feel comforting. They carry memories, they carry history, they carry connection. But what if they also carried something else, something unseen, something that didn't belong to you, but followed the object anyway? Imagine placing an inherited item in your home, and suddenly, your home doesn't feel like yours anymore. Imagine walking into a room and feeling watched. Even though you're alone, imagine hearing something, but finding nothing. Tonight, we explore 3 deeply unsettling accounts, where inherited objects didn't just bring memories, they brought dread. Objects that arrived quietly, but changed everything. Before we begin, consider this question carefully. If something unexplainable started happening in your home, the only thing that had changed was one inherited object, would you get rid of it? Or would you convince yourself it was just your imagination? Because for the people in tonight's stories, ignoring it only made things worse. Welcome to True Terror Files Official, where we uncover real feeling accounts, unexplained encounters, and disturbing mysteries connected to ordinary life. If you're fascinated by the unknown, drawn to unsettling true-style stories, and curious about the hidden side of everyday objects, subscribe now and become part of our growing community. Because sometimes, the past doesn't stay in the past. It waits. Our first story begins with something small, something personal, a tarnished locket that should have meant love. But instead, it brought fear. Sarah never thought twice about the package when it arrived. It came from her late great-grandmother's estate. Inside was a delicate old-fashioned locket. The metal was slightly tarnished, but still beautiful. It looked harmless, meaningful, personal. Sarah felt honored to receive it. She placed it around her neck that same day. At first, nothing seemed unusual. But that night, she woke up suddenly. She didn't know why. The room felt colder, not just cool, but unnaturally cold. She adjusted her blanket and tried to sleep again, but something felt wrong. Over the next few days, Sarah noticed small changes. She began feeling uncomfortable in her own bedroom. Not afraid, just watched. She checked her windows, locked her doors. Nothing explained the feeling. One night, while standing in front of her bathroom mirror, she noticed the locket had somehow opened on its own. Inside was a photograph, but it wasn't her great-grandmother. It was someone else, someone Sarah didn't recognize. That's when the whispering began. Not clear words, just faint sounds, soft, close, unexplainable. She told herself it was stress, fatigue, imagination. Until one night, she removed the locket and placed it on her bedside table. Moments later, she heard something fall. The locket was on the floor. She knew she hadn't touched it. She began sleeping with the lights on. The unease followed her everywhere. Eventually, Sarah stopped wearing the locket entirely, and slowly, the feeling stopped too. The locket now remains locked away, untouched. She refuses to wear it again. She refuses to even look at it, because some objects feel like they remember things that don't belong to you. When the Miller family inherited the porcelain doll, it seemed like a charming antique. It had once belonged to Mrs. Miller's grandmother. It was placed carefully on a shelf in their daughter Emma's room. At first, Emma liked it. She named it. She talked to it. She treated it like a toy. But within weeks, her behavior changed. She stopped playing with it. She stopped wanting it in her room. When her parents asked why, she gave a simple answer. She watches me. They assumed she meant it playfully. But Emma didn't smile when she said it. Soon, Emma began waking up at night, not crying, just sitting awake, staring at the doll. One night, Mrs. Miller moved the doll into the hallway. The next morning, Emma asked why it was back in her room. Her mother felt confused. She hadn't moved it back. No one had. From that point on, the doll stayed in storage. Emma began sleeping peacefully again. She never asked about the doll, and her parents never mentioned it. Some objects don't need to move to be noticed. David inherited the grandfather clock from his late uncle. It was tall, elegant, beautifully made. It became the centerpiece of his living room. The clock worked perfectly. Its ticking was steady, predictable, comforting, until David noticed something strange. Sometimes the clock would stop, but not broken, just stopped. Minutes later, it would start again, perfectly on time, as if nothing happened. David also began losing track of time. He'd sit down for what felt like minutes and realize hours had passed. One night, the clock chimed unexpectedly. David checked the time. It wasn't the correct hour. The sound echoed longer than it should have. That night, he unplugged it, but the ticking continued. Soft, steady, impossible. He eventually removed the clock from his home, and the strange experiences stopped. He never brought it back. Some objects don't belong everywhere. 3 objects, 3 homes. 3 experiences that defied explanation. A locket that brought whispers. A doll that brought fear. A clock that disrupted time itself. Maybe there's a logical explanation. Memory, emotion, association, or maybe. Some objects carry more than physical weight. They carry presence, energy, history. Now we ask you, do you own something inherited? Has it ever made you feel uneasy? Different? Watched? Tell us your experience in the comments, and subscribe to True Terror Files Official for more unexplained stories, disturbing encounters, and true-style mysteries. Because sometimes, the most terrifying things aren't found. They're given.